Holy shit. Over the past 8 weeks, the dismissal rate of criminal complaints in D.C. has risen to 21%, compared to 0.5% over the past decade. Oh my god. Unprecedented errors eroding the credibility of Trump's Justice Department. I mean, it's pretty funny, but it's also like, wow, our civilization is actually collapsing. Like, this, like, genuinely, we are forgetting how to make concrete. That is insane. Explain, please. The likelihood of a prosecutor's charge being dismissed by the judge has increased by approximately 40 times in this administration relative to the norm. Fuck you, Reuters. All of the DOJ's prosecutors are well, at least most of them, I assume at this point, are just completely incompetent, which we keep seeing over and over and over again in their court cases, but that is an insane dismissal rate. In years past, it was relatively rare for a federal court to question the Justice Department's competency or good faith, but such questions are becoming more common thanks to a growing pattern of legal missteps that have dogged the department since January, according to a Reuters review and legal experts. Can this just be they suck at doing the paperwork, not that everything's falling apart? Them sucking at doing the paperwork is the everything is falling apart. That's the one-to-one. You think it's because all the competent people quit? Yes, almost certainly. That's a big part of it. These mistakes are causing department attorneys to lose credibility with federal courts, with some judges quashing subpoenas, threatening criminal contempt, and issuing opinions that raise questions about their conduct. Grand juries have also in some cases started rejecting indictments, a highly unusual event since prosecutors control what evidence gets presented. Comey case getting tossed. Did I even talk about that on stream? No? Jesus. A federal judge in November dismissed the charges against Comey, finding the indictment was secured by an unlawfully appointed U.S. attorney who was handpicked by Trump after her predecessor expressed concerns about the strength of the evidence against Comey and Letitia James. Even before that ruling, the case was troubled. A magistrate judge said he uncovered a plethora of errors by U.S. Attorney Lindsay Halligan, from misstatements of law to the grand jury to possible misconduct that included presenting evidence to grand jurors that was not filtered to remove privileged materials between Comey and his attorney. After a different judge disqualified Halligan from serving as U.S. attorney, the Justice Department circulated an email to prosecutors instructing them to still keep Halligan's name on the signature block for all pleadings and list her as holding the role, with the name attorney misspelled. At least some of the legal blunders are being caused by a loss of institutional knowledge, legal experts said. Look at how many attorneys have... Wait, where'd the image go? Oh, I resized the page and the image disappeared. That's unfortunate. From January through November, public records show the department has lost more than 2,900 attorneys, triple the number of those that left in each of the previous 4 years. It's all fun and games, man, but like, again, I'm cynical about this because my doubt, I don't think the Democrats are going to be able to pick up the pieces, you know? I think you need a vision for that. Keep in mind that this is pretty much the most disruption the federal government has ever seen outside the Civil War, you know? The Civil War was the last time there was this much of an upheaval in the functioning of the government, in the release of people, so on and so forth. And before that, you have to go to the founding, basically. And in both the founding of the nation and in the Civil War, the people who were making an affirmative case for constructing this nation, they were doing it confidently, aggressively, and with a lot of know-how, right? Lincoln and the Union and the Founding Fathers were both, you know, whatever their failings, they believed in the system and they believed for its ability to be built to do good things, you know? They believed in the value of building it up. Democrats don't. Yeah, Democrats don't really have like a greater project to defer to. They've just been barely holding on. At best, they maintain. I don't know if the Democrats are going to be able to fix this up. I really, really do not. Sure, they might be able to get like some competent lawyers back on. I'm sure they could pick up some of the broken pieces, but there's a lot of long-term institutional damage that's been done here, and I don't know. Do they have the direction? Here's the graph. Yeah, yeesh. So we're doomed in our lifetimes? We're not doomed. We can still, like, I don't know, eat tasty food and meet cute people and, I don't know, get good at calisthenics, whatever you're into. I don't really care. We're not really doing the doomer rhetoric here. But the country's on the decline, and at the moment, I just don't think the Democrats are capable of picking up these pieces. Have we tried making a new country yet? What if we annexed Canada? Maybe that'd fix things. Why kill yourself when you can steal catalytic converters? That's facts. To give Chad a more concrete idea, a prominent Democrat, Mark Warner, recently decided to try to push for a housing policy package, which involved describing how dire the housing crisis is. And his big idea was tax credits and nothing for renters. They have no plan. That's fucking grim. Could I find that? Hold on. Mark Warner housing. It really is impossible to overstate how much any liberal from the Union or from the founding of the country would dog walk a modern day liberal Democrat. Just absolutely, just annihilate them, you know, on every level. In legalism, in intellect, in drive, in righteous anger, like on every level. Now, there is something I'm willing to give modern day Dems. Modern day Dems probably do not own slaves. And I don't think that's a minor difference. I think that's a big difference, and I appreciate that. Go Dems. However, on basically every other level, you're not wrong. The Housing Affordability Credit Improvement Act, I assume that's the tax credits. It's all right. I didn't want the page to load. Thank you. Increase the number of credits available to states by 50% over the next 2 years. Jesus. Yeah. There's some more here, but you get the point. There's more than one. Everything he proposes is basically a tax credit. Okay, sure. Let's take a look. So the Affordable Housing Credit Improvement Act, that's tax credits. What about the Neighborhood Homes Investment Act? Let's take a look at that one, okay? Tax incentives. Okay, so this is also a tax credit. All right, so that's 2 for 2. The Reside Act would help communities convert vacant buildings. Okay, sure. Sounds interesting. Let's take a look. Here we go. The Reside Act, legally drafted, convert vacant buildings, operate with the Department of Housing and Urban Development, provide grants to local governments for acquisition, site prep, and rehabilitation of vacant properties, with priority given to communities that reduce regulatory barriers to housing conversion. Okay, so this is not a tax credit. This is a grant to local government. Is the New Markets Tax Credit Extension Act about tax credits? Probably. Preserving Rural Housing Investment Act. Support more investment in rural and low-income housing. Why rope both of those in? Low-income housing is good. Rural housing is a financial black hole. New tax incentive. Okay, that's great. That's great. This one's just called Tax Credit Improvement Act. Scaling Community Lenders Act. Increase lending capacity and support for CDFIs. Is it a tax credit? No, it looks like this is loans. Well, that's nice. At least we're mixing it up, huh? Down Payment Toward Equity Act. Uh-oh. How are you gonna subsidize the down payment? Administer up to $20,000 to qualified first-generation homebuyers throughout the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Wonderful. $20,000. You can do, dude. That's like 2% of a starter house, up to $20,000, if you're qualified, and a first-generation homebuyer. Low-Income First-Time Homebuyers Act would offer new homeowners a 20-year mortgage for roughly the same monthly payment as a traditional 30-year loan. Jesus fucking Christ. It's meant for a down payment? Yeah, but that's the point, right? Like, this is being packaged, this is being marketed as like a transformative measure to fix the cost of housing in this country, and it does nothing. Literally nothing. Like none of this doesn't challenge the actual functioning of these systems at all. If anything, it reaffirms them. It's just dumping more government money into cementing these systems as they act now, you know? It's just subsidies for mortgage lenders. At the end of the day, yeah, I mean, it's certainly not doing anything for renters, for one, but also just, yeah, more money being dumped into the system as exists. No one wants to transform this country. Nobody wants to build anything. If the government just bought a fuck ton of housing and we bought it from them, that would work so much better than this shit. Well, I mean, that would also just, that wouldn't really fix the problem then, because then you would own the house and you would just be the next landlord of the house that you know what I mean? Now, what the government should do is buy it and then rent it out. Government's gotta Got to build the damn housing themselves. I live in an apartment owned by the city. It's great. Nice. I want to rent forever. It's better than owning. Truth nuke. Nobody wants to acknowledge it. The America brain obsession with owning a house is it's so deeply ingrained. What if I want to own an individual apartment? The government will shoot you. You'll be promptly executed. It's over. It's called a condo. It'll be called a felony soon.